got to go. Hope you don't wait for me. I have to hit the road. I got some things to see. I hope I have enough of what it takes to be a man who saves his soul before his spaceship leaves. Trapped in a cage of illusion, the proof is I'm scared that I'm losing the spark I was using to make music. Are the numbers even moving? Am I improving? Yeah, they told me I was chosen, but who's choosing? They keep saying I'm amazing, it ain't amusing. Cause if I don't see no payments, it ain't proven. Well, that's what I tell myself when I feel useless. But the truth is my music is changing the world, and it's my only job. I do not need referral, I just take all my pain, paint me a mural, then put it in frame. See what I'm saying? See how I'm moving up out of my comfort zone. Universe calling, I'm picking up the phone, I'm going all in. No more distractions, no more distortions. It's time for action. Tell me what you see. Tell me how you feel there. Tell me what you see. Tell me how you feel there. Tell me what you see. Tell me how you feel there. Tell me what you see. Tell me the truth even if I can't take it. My ego is fragile, it's easy to break it. Sometimes I wonder if I am mistaken for thinking that I deserve more than I'm making. I'm saying it's so hard for a man like me in a world like this. In a world like this. Cause I go back and forth with demons on a daily. Right as JC, other shoulder Hades. Someone wake me, fuck a pinch, tase me. No one's coming, I'm the one to save me. Time to take accountability into my own hands. Can't just count on my ability, then I have a response when it comes to taking responsibility. And running for my dignity doesn't count as agility. You feeling me or not? All the silence got me building up a wall. I ain't trying to be distant, but the mirror's been glitching, reflecting back to me what I'm not, like I'm not who I was. Before all the clout and the buzz, before all the doubt and the fuss about trying to be enough, before I ever lost all my trust in this stuff, man, I gotta readjust back to not giving a fuck. Shit. Can't believe I fell for the trap. Raps too raw to adapt to a nap. Sorry, chap, but I'm really about to snap. Like, tell me that you love me, not tell me that you hate me. Yeah, controversy sells, so tell me that I'm crazy. Tell me what you wanna hear, and I sell my soul just to make it anything to make you happy. Even if I gotta fake it, just tell me what you see. Tell me how you feel there. Tell me what you see. Tell me how you feel there. Tell me what you see. Tell me how you feel there. Tell me what you see.
All right, peace and chaos. Peace and chaos. Welcome back to my YouTube family. Shout out to everyone in the chat room right now. All the priests and priestesses, Nagas and Fangs. Another YouTube special interview. That song was by Spectrum. It's spelled S-P-X-T-R-M. Cage of Illusion. If you guys want to check that track out, please support these artists with higher frequency tonalities with their music, because we very much need it in these demiurge times. So we do have a guest today. The brother is having some problems on his laptop, so I'm waiting on him to get that back straight. But we got Mr. Bandclap on with us today, but I'm gonna go through some information before he gets back in here. Hit the like button and put a 1 in the chat if the sound is good. All right, reaching out, trying to get the brother back in the room right now. Okay, so today we're going to cover Yoruba physics. We're going to get into some archetypical information dealing with hoodoo, voodoo, all types of spirituals, indigenous systems. So we're really going to nail that today once we get the brother up in here and we get everything straight, because he's never been on StreamYard before. Some people, you know, they struggle sometimes. I don't know what the StreamYard, some people have a, you know, they have good experiences, bad experiences sometimes. But who saw the inauguration? Did y'all see what was going on with the inauguration? Man, oh man, y'all know we got a doozy for y'all. If y'all not on Patreon, get on Patreon right now, because we broke down a lot of things that's happening with Trump, a lot of rituals that they're lining up with this Stargate thing. One of the executive orders that he signed was the OpenAI Stargate, and he has all types of other things. One thing that was interesting, we had a polar vortex. So you had that going on. You had a polar vortex, and you had half of the United States on the East Coast going through a winter storm. Like me in Columbia, South Carolina, we get snow every 10 years. And I was explaining that on Patreon the other day. And I walk outside, everything is snowed out. A whole lot of snow. And Texas got snow. Areas that never get snow, Florida got snow. And what they're going to tell you is that that is all climate change. Climate change and everything of that aspect. Hold on, I think they said it, brother. Let me see if you get them in right now. All right, testing. You can hear me, brother? You there, Mr. Bandclap?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's going on with you, brother?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Peace to the guy. Yeah, we just opened up. I gave you some time to come back in. I just started talking about some of the executive orders that Trump was doing. I was speaking about the polar vortex. One thing I did say about the polar vortex, I'm going to introduce Mr. Bandclap in a minute and tell you guys how we connected. But the ancestors, they're always connected with ice. In the North Pole, that region, we heard from the master teachers back then how the ancestors are connected through ice and the cold fusion. The Kundalini, us moving into the year of the snake. The Kundalini is always associated with cold fusion rising in the planet. The planet has cold fusion, and also our bodies have cold fusion. And we have this polar vortex. And certain areas that never get snow got snow over the past couple of weeks.
Yep,
What's
I'm
your
over
thought?
here in Florida.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting snow like the northern part, of Florida. Um,
Mm,
there's also a lot of fake videos out there of like other places, but then in the caption it'll be like, "Dang, I didn't think I'll ever see snow in Florida," but it's like somewhere else. So that's another thing too. One thing I learned about social media, you can't believe every single thing you see on there,
right.
because people do be you know, uh, doing stuff just because another thing too about this year, the ninth house, that's Sagittarius. So
Mm-hmm.
think about all the things that we went through during Sagittarius season. This was during the time a lot of people were doing stuff for clout. Like, yeah, there was disasters because if I'm not mistaken, the California wildfires started during Sagittarius season, if I'm not mistaken.
It did.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
you also had a lot of other things that was going on, and people were acting like they were a part of certain things, or they was acting like they was doing certain things, and they was doing it for clout. So a lot of people were getting swift karma. Like that was a big thing you was hearing, like, oh, that karma came swift, that karma came swift. It was about people doing stuff for clout. It was about morality, the morality of things, what's right versus what's necessary. All of that was if you remember, was prevalent during that time. So with
Mm-hmm.
this being a 9 year, this is going to be a whole year. See, the 8 year, that was about things being exposed.
Right.
9 year is going to be like, okay, it's being exposed. So now what are you going to do about it? Judgment.
Mm,
You know, that's what that's
heavy.
what that's what. And when you look at the things that's going on, already the years that we haven't even got into 2025 yet. We're still at the snake's tail You was talking about the snakes. You know,
Yeah.
we're at the
Rahul,
tail
Rahul.
part. We're at the
Mhm.
tail part of the snake. You know, and you see what's already going on now.
Yeah, K2 is activated in my chart, and yeah, I see what's happening. And you know, remember Trump did a poem about the snake that we're going to talk about later. He did a poem called, it's an African American folklore poem. You know, we don't like that term. We use Black American, whatever you guys want to go with this dichotomy we're making with ethnicity. But he had this poem that came from African American folklore about the snake and how all of these Trumpies right now, because you have a lot of people very strong with what Trump is doing, and we know as spiritual people, Trump can be used as a mechanism. You know, I said he has a big Papa Legba energy being generated because at the inauguration, well, one, you got grown men calling him daddy. You had
Mm-hmm.
Pastor Brian McDonald, daddy. Mel Gibson just called him daddy. You know, I was like, grown men calling another grown man daddy. I don't care how you feel about him, how you support. I'm not calling another man as a metaphor or literal as daddy. You know, if anything, I'm
It's
daddy.
very somebody said something in the chat, Moonchild. Very important. Um, it's very important that we're in the quote unquote, we're in the year of the snake. They chose somebody that represented a two-headed, that represents being two-faced in the year of the snake. Because you know,
Mm,
Trump is a Gemini.
yeah,
Trump is a Gemini. And they feel like, you know, people are on the fence about him, you know, two-faced, crossroads, Legba, you know,
yep,
Kendrick Lamar, you know, he's same thing. He's a Gemini.
yep.
People are looking at him in a two-faced way because of the whole Super Bowl situation.
Well,
Um,
you know, that's interesting you bring that up because people are saying Trump is going to be the last president. He's going to be like the
mm-hmm.
first monarch king of America. And the word Kendrick in its etymology means king. If you look at the etymology of Kendrick, it
All right
literally
now.
means king. So yeah, it's
And what
interesting.
about kindred, kindred, like a
Yep.
kindred spirit,
Yeah. 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 There's a
you
lot of
know?
connections of how they line all of this up because Kendrick is due to perform the Super Bowl is in like a week or two. So
Mm-hmm.
they're lining up the energy for
Yeah,
everything.
I
There's a
got I was if certain things, you know, not saying too much, but if certain things would have panned out the way it was supposed to pan out last month, I would have we wouldn't have been doing this stream right now because I would have been in New Orleans, you know, working on the Super Bowl. I've done the last what, 3 Super Bowls.
well, that's the interesting thing because it's in New Orleans and we're talking about Papa Legba. So it's a veneration of the Vodou, the
Mm-hmm.
indigenous spiritual system because it's in New Orleans. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And they've already done things to invoke those lois. You
of
know,
course,
the biggest thing that they did was the where they ran over those people in that parade.
yeah,
You know, is very reminiscent to something that happened. It was like a Halloween. It was like a Halloween of like the early 2000s, and I remember Bobby Hemmett talked about it. He was talking about how even back then they was trying to you know, up they was trying to summon some of these you know, older deities or whatever, and Baron Samedi appeared. You know, they
right.
was trying to summon a deity in New Orleans that represent death and stuff like that, and Baron Samedi appeared. So it's very interesting. Um, a lot of this stuff is going on, especially down there, and knowing the type of energies that's down there. That, you know, even though it seems like this is a big thing, you know, this movement, there's still people that's
Mhm.
there that's oblivious,
Of
you
course, yeah.
know,
It's always going to be yeah NPCs.
that don't know, yeah, that don't know anything, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, NPC is going to exist on both sides. But check this: this lady is wearing a attire. She has the leg bar colors on. She has the boater hat, just
Mm-hmm.
like Legba, they had her speaking. I still haven't found her name. Y'all can put her name in the chat. But they had her speaking, and we know that's connected with the colors also of the National Socialist Party, the mustache man, because you had Elon Musk coming out and he did the little national socialist salute, and people are saying is connected to that, you know, because his grandparents was in that. So they really be using the indigenous people as a circuitry, a medium to bring that energy in. And they're calling Trump Papa Legba. Now in the Vatican, you remember the Pope opened the St. Peter's Basilica doors in the Vatican. He opened 5 doors, and I showed a map of how the 5 ley lines that the doors were open on made the sigil of Lucifer. What's interesting about St. Peter, because it was the St. Peter's Basilica, St. Peter in the Vodou religion is equivalent to Papa Legba. If you look up St. Peter, him and Papa Legba is the same archetype, the same thing, the opener. So they
He
open
can
the same.
also be synonymized with Michael too.
Right, right.
Uh,
Well,
and
well,
and and Jesus on the cross with the cross. You know.
right. And simultaneously on the West Coast, you had um, Jim Morrison, one of there was a place in New Orleans. I think it was a museum or something that was named after his album. It burned down right before the fires. But Jim Morrison was a part of a group called The Doors. And we made that big connection because their main song was Light My Fire. So you have The Doors, you have St. Peter's, and you have Legba, who opens the doors. What do you think
That's
about that?
interesting. That's interesting. Um, I remember. I wish I would have known that you would have bought that up because Louis Farrakhan, Minister Louis Farrakhan, he did a sermon and he brought that up. Is that like my fire said? Like, come on, baby, light my fire,
Yeah, he
something like that.
did. He did.
Yeah. So yeah, like that
Yeah.
that was a memory right there. Like you took me back with that one. But yeah,
Elijah
and
Muhammad said it too.
he said what?
Elijah Muhammad said it too. Louis Farrakhan has repeated it, that he said that the end of America is going to start with fires. It's going to be fires to end America as it is
Mm-hmm.
currently.
The Bible, in the Bible it talked about the rainbow sign.
Mhm.
Um and we know rainbow. That's we're talking about Haitian voodoo, we're talking about those type of deities, Ada. We have two. We have an Orisha named Oshumare. You know, Oshumare represents the flying snake, like that flying snake Orisha that is known for taking the waters from the sea and bringing them to the air
Mm.
for rain. For rain when in the dry season. So I talked about that in my on point Orisha Tarot forecast I did last week. I was talking about how everything that's done on the outside is symbolic to what's
Right.
real inside of you. There's some real shit that's going on inside of you, and you can look at what's going on the outside as a roadmap. You know,
Exactly.
even in the
That's what we talk about.
even in the Bible, I was talking about Noah. It's very interesting that name Noah is kind of getting in the tabloids now because the whole thing with DJ Academics and this guy, I think his name was like Noah or something like that. 15-year-old boy that DJ Academics over here talking about we're gonna get you some strippers. But that's a
Yeah, I saw
whole nother that's a whole nother conversation.
that.
But so God told Noah, showed Noah a rainbow sign. I'm quoting a gospel song because I don't know the particular Bible verse, but he showed Noah a rainbow sign. That's Ada. That's nine, the mother of nine, the exalted mother of nine. The exalted version of Oya is Ada, the rainbow dragon. It won't be water but fire next time. So
Mm.
all of this has been prophesized. You know, people talk about, oh, Oya, the we're in the 9 year, and then talking about Oya, but there's so many different versions. There's so many different, and I hope I'm not going like too far like into, what we're talking about. But
No, you're really good.
it's so many different shades. It's so many different, and you have to know that, because that Scorpio energy that we were in, last, the last cycle that we were in, the 8 year, the Scorpionic year,
Mhm.
the Draco year, the Dragon year, the Draco year. That's why Drake was going through a lot of stuff that he was going through during that time, because it was in the stars. If you look at astrology and do the syncretism, it's all there, you know. Um,
Absolutely, yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah,
so
and Kung Fu Kenny. That's Kendrick's
mhm.
nickname. Kung Fu Kenny connected to the dragon as well. We pointed that out. And there's a lot of things that line up with it. We want to get to that, but let's slow it down a little bit because I want to introduce everyone to you, brother. And everyone, please go to Mr. Bandclap TV. All of his information is down in the tab below. So make sure you click that and go to his page, support everything that he has over there. He also does readings, and he's someone that I started very early in my metaphysical, let's just say, career as a metaphysicist, looking into information and becoming a spiritualist, becoming a practitioner, becoming a student to the science. I used to go to Mr. Bandclap's channel way before I had a YouTube channel. And well, early when I had a YouTube channel. And his energy of how he presents things was exactly what I was looking for, in alignment with what Bobby Hemmett, Phil Valentine, Brother Panic, and these other master teachers were doing. So I very much used to tune in every week. And that's how, we built that continuity to reach out to each other and establish a relationship of speaking about this science. So I have a
Mhm.
great respect for this brother, and I wanted to do a 360 and come back and actually interview the brother, because we never really connected, as far as getting on each other's channel to do something together. So this is very special for me. So
Hey,
I appreciate you.
I tried to put my website in the comments. I don't know if I did it right. It said this comment has failed to post.
Well,
I
this
I just
already in the tab. They can click the tab. All y'all have to do is go to the tab. Your website, everything is in there. It's called www.bandclaptv.com, but everything's there. I just went to your YouTube and copied all of your info and put it in there, which you usually
Oh,
put
okay,
on
cool,
your.
cool.
Yeah, I did that before the video. But yeah, brother, we have great respect for what you've done. Can you tell the people a little bit about what you do? Because I know you're strong into the science of the indigenous spiritual systems. You know a lot about the Yoruba deities and pertaining that to the astrology. So can you explain a little bit of those things so people can get a little vibe of what you do and everything of that aspect?
So yeah, me, I'm a we talked about this the other day, how I was gonna say this. I'm a artist, I'm a producer, I'm a DJ. I've done staging work for the biggest artists, from Celine Dion to J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Janet Jackson, Lizzo, Taylor Swift, Beyonce. The list
Mhm.
goes on and on. You know, um, when it comes to the spiritual path that I ended up embarking on, and I would say this started around like 2012. Um,
Mhm.
I was one of the people that started on this particular path out of curiosity.
Mm.
I didn't start on this path, um, out of, I was going through some stuff, and I needed God, or I needed something, and then I went there. It wasn't, you know, a little bit of it was because I was trying to help somebody else. I was
Oh
trying to
wow.
help somebody else. Yeah, yeah. A lot of it was because there was somebody else that I was trying to help at the time, and it just seemed like, because I was raised up Christian. I was raised up Christian. My mother is a gospel singer. My father always been in the church. My uncle is a preacher. I actually got a couple uncles that are pastors. So I know my way around, Christianity very well. But the person I was dealing with at the time, um, they had some things going on with them that I was curious about, but I didn't know how to help them. But this was somebody that I cared about. So I kind of went on this journey, of these obscure, you know, um, type of understandings and stuff because
Mhm.
I was also, asking questions like, why is this and why is that and why are we going through this and why is this, just asking questions. And one thing I know, spiritually, when you start asking those questions, certain people, places, and things have to answer you. So I started
Exactly.
linking up. So certain people, while I'm doing these temp jobs, I'm a young kid, 18, 19, um, doing temp jobs, and I end up running across guys who are conscious. This guy named Ocon, and he was the one that was telling me, the beginning stuff. Santa
Mhm.
Claus ain't real. Easter is about the goddess Ishtar, and this, the stuff like that. Like the basics. But that
So
was
you had
enough.
somebody in person that told you. I had to go find Bobby to tell me that type stuff. You had somebody actually
Yeah.
in person.
Yeah, yeah, for me it was because with me being raised Christian, it was like it's you got to remember all of the pitfalls and all of the stuff that they teach us in that religion. That
Hmm.
this is evil and just thinking about this is evil. Just you wanting to be curious about this is evil and all of this stuff. you know.
Right.
Um, but the older I got, the more I started to be casted out from my family because I started to realize certain things about myself that's not like them. I started to break away from that, so I started to get more curious, about different stuff. Um,
Hmm.
so it gets to what 2014, 2015, around this time.
Yep.
Um, my homeboy, Godfather Tank D, shout out to him, Living Black Life podcast. He put me on to Yafa Bay. He was like, I see, the road that you're going on. I want to help you out. I want to show you who I've been listening to. Yafa Bay. Now Yafa Bay, she's really dope. She breaks down words. And I ended up circling back around to Yafa Bay later on in my studies, but um, it just wasn't time for her yet. The video that got me into this side of consciousness, it was from Brother Panic, and it was called How to Ditch Christianity and Become a Magician. It was something about that, how to leave Christianity and become a magician. It was
That's a
like a
hell of a
three.
title.
Yeah. It was the exact video I was looking for. I'm like, okay, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Let me check
Right.
this out. And so
Mhm.
I ended up listening to Brother Panic religiously. I found out about the remix. Shout out to Miss Blue. I started listening to the remix. Bobby Hemmett would come on the remix a couple times, but I could never listen to him. I could never listen to Bobby Hemmett. When he would come on, I would turn it off. I'm like, man, this dude crazy. This dude is weird. I don't know what Panic saw in this dude. Because the stuff that he was talking about was just so outlandish compared to what uh um Brother Panic, he was more like your hood homeboy that you would
Yeah.
see, on the corner, and then he talk about some conscious shit. Y'all be talking about some shit, then all of a sudden he starts, yeah, because Anubis and Asar and Osiris, and you're like, oh yeah, I fucks with that, it's
Hmm.
like that. So, um, so fast forward to okay. So that was in 2015. Nazir Ra, I ended up finding him. He ended up, telling me about, showing me about different crystals and stuff like that. I went into this crystal shop, Phoenix and Dragon in Atlanta. While I was there was this Oshun priestess that was there. Now she was
Hmm.
my first time learning hearing about anything about Orishas. I'm like who is this? She was like, oh, you have Oshun energy around you. You need to check that out. Like you got Oshun, she want to communicate with you. And I'm like, who is that?
Mm.
Like, who is Oshun? Like, what is this? You know? Um, and so she gave me this ritual to do. She was like, you got to go vegan for like a couple weeks. Like, you got to clean your whole body out. You got to eat nothing but like fruits and vegetables and all that kind of stuff. And then you got to do this ritual with some honey and some fruit and a river. And I'm like, what is all of this stuff? But something in me, I did it.
Hmm.
I did it. Because that's the level that I was on. So I ended up doing it, and nothing happened. So I'm like, well, all right, I tried, and I just went about my life. It wasn't like, okay, all right, it didn't, nothing worked, okay, and so I
You
went
tried
about
it.
my life. Yeah, 2017 ended up coming, end up happening. So now I'm in Florida. Florida is a more dense, energy dense place because you got Santeria there, you got the Cubans, you got, you know, uh some Haitians there, so you got that energy there. So I ended up in Florida, going to Full Sail. That's how I ended up doing show production. So I ended up going there. Um, Hurricane Irma ends up hitting, and y'all and I don't know if y'all remember how bad Hurricane Irma was. That was like one of the craziest hurricanes that came through Florida
Remember
at
that?
the time. At the time. So during this time, I was just randomly, going through YouTube videos. This is right before the hurricane. Um, Bobby Hemmett was on, and he was like, hurricanes, something about hurricanes, and he said something about Oya. He was like, Oya,
Mhm.
the Oya, the goddess of the hurricane. So if you want to be protected from the hurricane, do this ritual for Oya. And I was like, oh, so she's another one of these Orishas, that I heard about years ago. I'm like, okay, so let me
Yeah.
see
And
let me let me
to
see
those
what's
that
up
don't know, to those who don't know, Oyo would be equivalent to Storm in X-Men. So
in
she's
X
like
Men.
Storm goddess. Yeah, but continue, brother. We
Hmm.
go.
Her personality though is gonna be like Pam from Martin. So if y'all watch Martin and you remember Pam, that's Oya. Or if you watch Everybody Hates Chris, Tashina Arnold, that's Oya energy right there.
Mm.
uh, but yeah, so Hurricane Irma hits, and so I did this ritual for Oya, and I told you this earlier. So the lights cut off, like this is a crazy hurricane. I end up sleeping, like sleeping through it. As I'm sleeping, I'm scratching myself. Now I didn't know that when it comes to initiation, they call it getting scratched. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I found that out years later. But I ended up scratching myself in my sleep. I ended up waking up. As I woke up and I looked at my arm, I kid you not, there was a thunderbolt. There was a thunderbolt and like three stars that I scratched into my arm. And I didn't even know I did that. And later I ended up looking that up, and that was Oya's Veve. That was
Mm.
Oya's Veve that was scratched onto me.
Talking about
Uh,
welded in your arm and made the symbol of the veve in your arm where you scratched that.
hmm Now after that moment, um, now anything Bobby Hemmett, man, when I tell you I be binge watching Bobby Hemmett a lot of times. It was like something in me had to open up, and once that opened up, now I'm able to ingest this knowledge and stuff. And that's when things really started to pop off, and all of the adventures that I went on when it comes to this spiritual path, I talked about it on my YouTube channel. So everything that you see on my YouTube channel is literally just a chronicling of my journey, just my journey. What all the things that I went through. I don't hold anything back because I feel like everything is permitted as far as for the bigger picture. You know, a lot of people when they get to a certain place in their journey, they start deleting stuff. They start
Mhm.
deleting stuff, you know, taking videos down and all that. I've had my channel hacked a couple times. Um but I try to keep everything up because I want to give people um a synopsis. You know, I want to show people the progress, and I still got stuff in that vein that I still haven't shown yet. You know, I'm still in a transformative process even right now. You know,
Yeah, as
um,
always, we're always transforming and we're opening our perception. Somebody brought up the doors of perception. That's what the archetypes in the alchemy of the spiritual journey is about. So nobody is ever there, quote unquote. You may be more adept than others, you know, and maybe some people can look at it a certain type way. Somebody asked me, are these energies you're speaking of the Nephilim, and is it negative or positive? I would say based on the system of how you interact with a system. Do you interact with the system as a religion? Meaning, do you worship these energies as if they're outside of you and you have to give something to them? Then they can become parasitic and archonic to you. But if you understand that you're the creator of your own spiritual universe, you are a deity living in the matrix. Just as when you see the matrix, Neo has to wake up. You're taking the red pill, you're waking up, you're coming out of that phase that you were before. Because we got to get into the inner child in a minute, Mr. Van Clap. When
hmm
you move into this next phase of consciousness through these archetypes, then the energy that was once used as religious or being parasitic in the nature of you have to give yourself to this energy. Those are the cosmic predators that prey on us. No, we're not looking at the system in that way. That's why it's important that you establish that you are at the top of the system. You are the head honcho in control. And once you establish these things, then the energies work differently than it would be, i.e., somebody worshiping it. What you think about that, Mr.
And
Van Clap?
also another thing too, because that was my biggest thing that I had to get off of, and that's what and I call Bobby Hemmett now. I call him the Sagittarian Eshu, because he's the type where, you know, is there's he and I feel like that too. Sometimes, you know, they say filter, but you know, when it comes to certain things, there can't be a filter because you need to know how important it is. Like, you need to understand how imperative this is, you know, so it doesn't need to have a filter on it.
Mhm.
When you was talking about, you know, positive and negative, you know, the biggest thing when it comes to that, you know, how I was able to understand it is that anything when you're talking about spirituality that's negative, it got something to do with the feminine, inner.
Mm.
It's a inner.
Yeah,
It's inner,
yeah,
inner,
yeah.
inner stuff. You know, any type of goddess, any type of goddess that's gonna help you, she's gonna
Mhm.
help you from the inside first. So
Right.
so it'll be a
Okay.
feeling that you'll get, you know,
Yeah.
and that's and if you don't know this as a I hate to say this, but as a spiritual consumer, you know, if you don't notice and you're getting a spell work or something like that, and you're like, why is it not working? You know, you gotta pay attention to your feelings because it's about the way you
Right.
feel. You know, any when it comes to masculine entities, a lot of times, you know, things happen outwardly. You know, positive, it can just mean outward. You know,
Yeah, it's a
um,
exertion.
if you go to the doctor and they say that you're HIV positive, that's not good.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's not good. So you know, positive, negative, good and bad, it really is subjective because, you know, as I pointed out many times before, um sometimes there are and this can seem subjective, unless there's context added, but there's some there when you get to a certain level and you have a certain amount of ashe, there's some things that the devil can offer you, and it'll be something that you could take it, because what that devil wants in return isn't something that's gonna hurt you or something that's gonna kill you, because of the level that you're at. You can start communicating with different things that other people may make
That's
you
what we
feel
have.
like it's bad, and it's not necessarily because it's bad. It's about a level of consciousness. It's about a spiritual level that you're on, and
Well,
once
let's
you're on
preference
that.
that. Hold on, let's
Mhm,
preference that real quick because I want you to slow down because some people are having because we're already at the level. So you just flowing out. I want to slow down to address some things.
mhm,
Some people are putting stuff about, whether it harms you and all of these other systems. Being well read first, understanding what you're doing.
mhm.
Um, the level is critical of what Mr. Banclap is saying because none of that shit really at the level that I'm at this point, and I'm not using that to toot my horn. I'm just saying where I'm at, none of that stuff could harm me because I've
Yeah,
reached a level of consciousness where there isn't a trend in my mind in the subconscious that I'm telling me I'm not ready or it could be negative
it
toward
could.
me.
Mhm,
I've eliminated that counter universe where something could happen. See,
mhm.
some people haven't eliminated that side and they think that it's open season of how these energies can come at you. No,
And I would say, being coming from a religious background, a lot of times that can be the hardest thing. That can be the hardest thing to do. That right there. Like, if you're still in a higher power, something is higher than you, something greater than you, and you still believe that, then you know certain because whatever you feel, or whatever you think, so you are. So if you think that can be harmful, just like you said, if you think it can be harmful, that means that there's a universe that you created where it can be harmful.
exactly,
And
So
the more you think that, the more you feel that, the more you're attracting that. So yeah, I can see that.
yeah, there's levels to the consciousness, and by feeling that if you don't do this or do this, you've already set up a system in your mind, what Mr. Banclap is saying, that creates the parallel universe that can pour into this universe and actually do the same of what it's doing as affecting you in that other universe. So you have to be able to develop and set those parameters around the spiritual universe you create. And it is a mental temple. We're talking about mental alchemy today, Mr. Banclap.
Mhm.
So let's get
Yep,
into
yep.
some of this time. So as far as because I was initiated into most of the Yoruba systems or how people look at the deities. They feel like, okay, if you have a head, as a family, then you have to follow the it's called the Saguna aspect. It's basically you
Mhm.
have to be up under the head. Like Obatala is my head, so I have to be up under a batala. I have to do the little bath and put the coconut on my head and do all this type of stuff like that. So
Mhm.
there's the Saguna, there's the Nirguna, as far as, well, Obatala is me, is a part of me. I'm not up
Mhm.
under it. This is a servitude or a archetypical deitic force that I invoke. And I'm just calling it a Batala. I could call it whatever. I can call it Ronald McDonald if I wanted to call it that.
Mhm.
But there is a astral realm where the Yoruba people, the Igbo people, have poured into this astral plane of where this energy exists of these deities. And even, you can go as far as back in the mythology, even when they were actual people. You were talking on the phone the other day about that all of that is a conduit from this astral realm that these people created, and now we
Mhm.
all have share and look into those mythologies and use these energies from that system. What is your thoughts on this system? What Yoruba entity are you more you know, attracted to, or if there is one. I know as far as me, Mother Oshun, Nefertiti Dar-El, I was supposed to be up under a Shosi, but she said that was my energy. I was a warrior. So she was like, yeah, you a Shosi, but you one of my hard-headed children. You know, I was like, hey, I'm the hard-headed one because I ain't want no reading. Yeah, I didn't want no reading from her. I didn't want none of that shit. I just said, hey, let's talk to me. Let's just talk about information and what's happening. And she loved to call me to do that with all of that. But what about you?
That's interesting. Let me see. I'm over here looking at the comments. He said, what's something that the devil gave you that you kept? So, and I knew this was gonna come up. So the um the whole the whole thought process of that particular, because you was talking about what Orisha that you represent with me on an inner level. The baby Eshu, Eshu, the child version, you know. But on an outward level, when you see me on an outward level, I'm a Gemini, so I represent Legba. I'm the messenger. That's what I do. I'm a rapper. Like I'm a messenger, you know.
Yeah.
But the trickster aspect comes into you taking what you see too seriously. Trickster aspect of it, you know, because I'm not this, I'm actually a big ass kid on the inside. So you giving me too many responsibilities, because when you see me, you see Legba, you're like, oh yeah, he's old man. Don't know that I'm in my 30s, but he old man. He can I can take advantage of him, or I can do this, or I can do that. And then uh you know then it happens that reprimanding happens, and you're like, oh wait, I thought that, and you're like, no. you know but
Right. Understandable.
So there's this game that I be playing all the time, and it's called Archero. And it's funny because you talked about Ochosi. In this game, you're an archer. You're an
Yeah.
archer, and you go throughout these levels and stuff. And when you complete a level, they give you three choices. You get these choices, and these choices are different power ups, different upgrades, and different stuff like that. Um, sometimes, if you've built up your character and stuff like that, and you got a lot of health and stuff like that, you'll get to a level to where the devil appears, and it's literally the devil. So the devil will appear, and sometimes if you're about to face a boss, the devil will give you a weapon that you actually need to defeat the boss. Like this will be like a S tier level weapon. Now, in exchange for this weapon, you got to give up 1,000 of your health. You know. Now, if you've done what you were supposed to do, and you got your health up to a certain level in the game, you can take the deal. And yeah, okay, I got 1,000,000 health. What's 1,000 health? What's 1,000 health if I got 1,000,000 health? I need this weapon to defeat the boss. So that's what I meant when I was saying, when if being on this path, there's the devil is always going to tempt you. It's up to you. It's up to you to decipher if the deal that the devil is giving you, if it's a deal that you need to take, or if it's something that man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. But you are the sole one that has to decipher that. Not every single thing that the devil tempts you with, you're gonna be able to say no. You know what they what they say, karma is a bitch, but you better make sure it's beautiful. You
Right.
know, because Legba, that's what I talk about. Choices. I'm from Memphis. 3-6 Mafia. Choices. That's their biggest song. Choices. So that's what my whole life is about. Yeah, I made certain choices so that I don't get locked up. I don't get thrown in jail. Like I don't get, but there's also certain choices that if I would have made them, yeah, maybe I would have got locked up, or yeah, maybe, but I would be farther than where I'm at now financially, or I would be farther than where I'm at now. But you know, I'm okay with not making those particular choices. I'm okay with not making those particular choices. But we live in a society to where you have a lot of people out here that's regretful and resentful because of that, because of the choices that they made. Um, so answering going back and answering your question, talking about um so when it came to me understanding who I represent, because Oshun, she was my first introduction to it. Yeah, Dark Goddess, you're right. Papa Legba is not the one to be played with.
Yeah,
You're right.
Bobby
um,
introduced everyone to Oshun and Yemenya and Yemenya's what's her mother name? I can't remember her mother right now.
Yemoya Yimbo. Yimbo is Yemoya's mother.
No, the one in the ocean. I mean, deep in the ocean.
Oh,
Uh,
Olokun.
Olakan. Olakan. Olakan was one of the first ones I was introduced because that connected to the first feminine archetype. Before you get Osiris, he was a goddess. Before you get
Mm,
any of the gods come from the goddesses.
the
The gods
goddesses. Yeah.
do not predate the goddesses. If you understand the indigenous side of the mysticism. Now, today, people refute that. They've been indoctrinated in different magical systems, feeling the gods come first, but it's really the goddesses. So
Hmm.
Olakan was one of the first ones. Then if Yemenya, but Oshun was the one I learned most about, getting
Hmm.
introduced to the
And a
system.
lot of a lot of people do. She was my introduction. Um, when I finally in 2017, when I finally started to do my research so I can make my podcast, because I did a whole 3-part series about Oshun. You know, um, so during that time, I wanted to be Shango. I'm like, shit, I'm Shango. I like Shango. He's a charismatic dude. He's a popular dude. He's the king. He's the warrior. Shit, who don't want to be Shango? Who don't want to be like Shango? So I'm doing this research, and while I'm doing this research, I'm meditating. I'm consulting with spirit, and I'm like, shit, I'm Shango. Like that's me. Ricky means warrior. That's my name. Ricky means warrior. So shit, I'm Shango. That's what I thought. But it
Oh,
was like something. There was like another. It's funny, Michael Jackson. It was another part of me that just didn't fully agree with that. Like, yeah, but that's not fully you. Like that's not fully you. You know. So um, and I never forget this. I was I had this, I don't know if it was like a dream or like a vision where like they all came to me at once, and it was like the Avengers. They all came to me at once, introducing themselves. Like, I'm this, I'm Oshun, I'm Yemoya, oh, I'm Obatala, I'm this. And all and I'm seeing another pair of legs like behind Oshun. I'm like, who is this? Like, who are you? And it was like this super extremely innocent little boy energy. And it was like this energy. This was the energy that was totally synonymous with me. Like I'm like, yo, that's me. Like that's my face. That's everything. Who is that? And he had on a little black and red hat, with his little black and red, clothes on, had a little black and red fedora, pretty much the Eshu that's in Eshu's world in my animation, the animation that I got, that's who came to me. And I'm like, you're me. I kneeled down, I'm like, you're me. Like, I'm you. Like, like fuck all these other ones. I want to get to know you. Like, who are you? And so when I went on this journey, um, you know, being learning who I am and all of this type of stuff, the Orisha started to shrink. So in my videos, when I talk about the baby Oshun, the baby Shango, like that's real. Like for me, since my energy is synonymized with this Eshu energy, I see things like a kid. Like I see
Right.
things like the way a kid would see them. Like when I see demons, like when I see like people like demonic entities, to me they look like kids drawings. Like they literally
Right.
look like kid drawings. They look like children's drawings, and I'm not scared of them. You know, um, on an outer level, I got into a lot of trouble doing that because you know I allowed certain people in my life that I knew wasn't supposed to be there, but there were certain things about their soul that I just couldn't I just couldn't turn my back on them. You know, like when you're a kid and you got a best friend and your parents is like,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
ain't no good for you and he doing this, but they're like, but he shared his ball with me yesterday. You know, so
Yeah, that's my
so
best friend. That's exactly what happened
so
with that.
so so I didn't realize that me going on this journey, you know, learning who I am as far as that led to me getting to know my inner child. That's where getting to know your inner child. When I did that first Orisha podcast about Eshu, I said how Eshu slash Legba represents your inner child. That's when it started. You know, that's when it started. And
That's
I'm
how.
not gonna sit
That's
up
how.
here and say that it was all peaches and cream because like you really feel like a single dad. Like when you really get on this journey and really start getting to know your inner child, you as a man, you become a single dad. And it's crazy. Like you start looking crazy to people. For certain stuff, you're gonna be like, no, I can't do it. Like I can't do that no more. Like I can't. And on the inside, you're gonna know why you can't do it because your inner child is active. Your inner child has been activated. You know, so you know. But on an outer level, people looking at you like, bruh, like you know what's wrong with this? Like what's wrong with you? Like you being weird. Like you was just doing this last week. Like you was just you know. Um, so yeah, I don't know if if I answered
Yeah, I'm gonna go
your
with
question.
it. I was just letting you preference that so we can go a little bit deeper. So
Mhm.
I was introduced to it differently. I went into hoodoo Gnosticism. And well, I tried the Saguna path of Yoruba because I was listening to Mother Oshun, doing the right things, doing the putting things on the altar that you're supposed to put on there.
Mhm.
I went through that way, and it just didn't resonate with me. But when I got into Vodal Gnosticism, studying Michael Berdio, going into Bobby Hemmett and Panics, different descriptions of how the energies work. I found something connecting with a few other practitioners that worked for me. So what
Mhm.
I'm saying to people who's listening to me and Mr. Van Clap, there's many ways to skin a cat and understanding how these energies preference themselves. Like
Mhm.
for instance, spirits reveal themselves through me through colors. So I was one of the first
Mm.
people in the black occult community, before I got ostracized. We talked about that. But I introduced color physics, how to send colors or to receive and see colors and program the colors with the energies of hoodoo and Vodal and Yoruba or any of it. It could even be into the whole Nordic aspect. Any system that you're using, colors can be programmed with a deitic consciousness. There's a consciousness that's connected with it, and doing what's called the shadow bath. So it's a melanin bath where you buy a blue light or you get a black light, you plug it in, and the dark side, when you put that blue light on, well, first you have to do a lot of things. I'm skipping steps. There's some things you do with candle work and introducing yourself to the energies and things you have to do for a couple of weeks. So I'm skipping some steps, but one of the most important things to gain contact with spirits is building your mental energy, because your mental energy in their world is the sun. So they call it the city of the central city of the white sun, is just another allegorical term to the spirit world. Now, our contact with the spirit world is different. So what you were saying earlier, you could see it as you saw with Oshun, and seeing the baby Oshun as you behind her. There's different ways people interact with the energies through the dreams. Dreams are very important to build the contact or bridge into seeing the spirits or the deities, the big portions of these the spiritual universe that connects the lattices of frequencies that allows us to interact with that. They say is very important in hoodoo, certain vodal powerful systems, to take this shadow bath. I call it the melanin bath, where you go on the dark side of the black and blue light, and you actually have to take a bath with the darkness before you go to sleep every night. So I was doing that for a couple of years, and that built a continuity with the energy. But you know, that's when I was getting initiated into that side of the frequency. Then I actually had the conversation like you would have with the spirit or the energy, and we develop a communication through dreams. Now, archetypically, they can come to you, from what I experience in my spiritual universe, they can come to you as somebody you know. You could be dreaming, because we talked about this too, Mr. Ben Clapp. The multiverse is one of the biggest things being studied in quantum physics and magical systems right now, because I press on my channel that a lot of times when you dream, you're actually looking at a multiverse parallel reality of yourself, and what was happening in that parallel reality. Whoever's there, that's you. They can dream about what's happening in this world, universe A. With you, your actual physical happenings is a dream to them. And the reason why I know that is because recently this cold spot opened up between the regions of the pole star. The pole star, and I'm forgetting the other. Y'all can put it in the chat. There's these constellations out there. They said they discovered a mysterious cold spot. That's what's behind me on my avatar. That background picture that you see is a picture that they have of the cold spot. And they said that's when the multiverse parallel reality started to open up to people. It was sometime around when 2012 came. I mean, it probably happened a couple years before, but 2012, when they said it was the end of the world in the Mayan calendar, I think it was an introduction of these other parallel realities entering into our realm, which it strengthened the spiritual realm. So it kind of was the end of the physical world, because I believe just like Jonah was swallowed by the whale, the spiritual world will eventually swallow this realm, and it has to have a reset. So when that cold spot opened, a lot of us switched and turned and became spiritual. But just like it takes a long time for a starlight to hit this planet, when we look at the stars, it takes a long time for that light to hit our planet, but it's already on its way to us. So we didn't know we were gonna become spiritual, but it had already begun when that cold spot opened up. And guess what they named the cold spot?
What?
The whore of Babylon.
Which is the baby Oshun personified.
Go into that.
Yep.
What's the baby Oshun? What talk about the archetypes and the different archetypes of the Oshun, because there's hundreds of different archetypes with these deities. What is some of Oshun's? Because I know Oshun is a river goddess, and they talk about how Yemenya, the ocean water has to pour into the landscape and it becomes a river. So that's why Oshun is Yemenya's daughter, because Yemenya represents the ocean, correct?
Yep.
So talk about some of those, different Oshuns that people get confused, because they try to put the Oshun as a monolith, or they try to put Shango or
so this kind of goes back to what me and you were saying earlier. Hold on. this goes back to what me and you were saying earlier. When what was we talking about? The tomboy. Because
Yeah,
we got we
Oba,
gotta talk
Oba,
we gotta talk
Oba
about
is
Obanani. But
Oba Nani is was the wife of Ogun and Shango, but she Shango he dumped her. They were married, he divorced her, and she cut her ear off. In the mythology, basically it's like some self-esteem type thing, but they say that she gives Oshun her mirror to see the beauty of herself. But she's the original tomboy archetype. So she's the tomboy, but she was raising up Oshun to before Oshun becomes a a woman. She becomes the white Oshun because she has the yellow dress as first. But later on, I mean, she has the white dress
white dress
first, and
first.
later on it becomes yellow. So this is the white dress Oshun. She was showing her beauty. They said Obanani cultivated Oshun's self-esteem of her beauty, but she's the first archetype of the tomboy. And we went into because recently they just released a Leah doll, and you spoke
Mm-hmm.
about a Leah, but they're trying to suck some energy with that right now. They just introduced this Leah doll, so go into that a little bit.
Yeah, um so in the conversation that we had the other day, we was talking about, the tomboy, and we was talking about how when when we as a people, when we had more control, can you hear me? Everything is the audio good?
Yeah, audio's fine.
Okay. So when we as a people was more in control of of our image, when we were more in control of our image, um, you know, you different shades, the other shades of who we are, as a people, started to be more recognized. You know,
Hmm.
when you think about the seven African powers, because there's so many of them. These are just talking about different shades of who we are as a people when left alone. Like like when we're left alone and we're able to fully be in our divinity and fully be what we know that we're destined to be, we become these particular archetypes. You know, that's 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 all that is. You become sweetness. You become Oshun. You become, when you're a woman, you know, and you got abundance and stuff like that. But you're meant to be a mother. You're meant to be, and this is how we were back in the day, where you had the grandmother that had the 50 11 kids, you know. But that grandmother was taken care of. That grandmother was fully taken care of. Pop was always around somewhere, chopping down the trees in the backyard, getting the wood ready for the fire, all that kind of stuff. Bobby Hemmett talked about this with the grandmother archetype, the grandmama archetype.
Hmm.
Um, when the Mudia name started to get thrown in the mud, stuff like that. That's when us as a people really started to go down, to go downward. You know. So so with that being said, once these quote unquote these powers that be, once they started to get control of religion, they got control of, over the media, different parts of the media. It took them a while to get full control over the media, because we still had, certain pockets to where, we could still tell our message, give our voice, stuff like that. And I'm not talking about, this is something that's happened over millennia, over many generations and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So so if I tell you that before Oshun was popularized, Oshun represented a warrior class of women. You know, Oshun represented a warrior class of women once upon a time. You know, me telling you that it don't feel right to you. Like, huh? Like what? You know, I've only known Oshun to be about beauty and sweetness and all of this other stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but but that's because that is the only shade. And being honest with you, that's the only thing that I can really say that the religion, you getting into the religion, you know, you can learn about the other different versions of these energies, because that's all it is. On a personal level, these orishas represent different energies that we're supposed to exude. You know, different energies that we're supposed to exude. They're already inside of us, but we forgot. We just forgot how to exude them outward. So we have these archetypes that's done it for us to kind of show us like, okay, this is how this would look like. This is how we need to exude this energy outward for the betterment of the world. You know, that's why Bobby Hemmett, his whole thing was like, you know, fuck the Orishas, because you know the Orishas is trying to keep this shit going. We trying to
Mm-hmm.
get up out of here. So
Right. Right. Yeah, we gotta talk
we
about that.
we trying to get up out of here, you know. Um, but but when a lot of the corruption, a lot of the corruption that you see today is because of those archetypes that represented a divinity. But since we're no longer in control of our own narrative and our own image, those particular, um, abandoned archetypes have been demonized. You know, just like when you, but somebody said the most divine version when you talk about deities, the divine version is always going to be the child, because
Yep.
when you
Yep.
were because when you were a child, um that's when you didn't have, you know knowledge of any of the corruption that's going on in the world. So when you talk about, who is Oshun, all of my ladies out there, think about when you was a little girl. Think about when you was a little girl. You know, was you the type of little girl that, you always wanted to play dress up, and you just wanted to run around in the flowers, and you always had this vision, one day I'm gonna have a family, and I'm gonna have and you thinking about these different animals that you're gonna have, and all of the, and then the older you get, certain things attract themselves to you, like different things that represent service. Oh, I want to help. you know if you're a baby Oshun, if that's your phrase, I want to help, I want to help, I want to help. you know the little helper. you know that's what um her energy represents when it's not being tainted, when it's not being corrupted. you know she's the
Right.
little helper, she's the little helper. When we're talking about credit, and stuff like that. And this is something that I'm gonna end up breaking down um in my on my channel, talking about the credit system of the black woman. you know and we don't understand how valuable we are on a spiritual level. Some of these women, you know they're extremely valuable spiritually. They just don't know how to alchemize that value to a physical, because the archetype that they need to represent in order for them to do that, it is an archetype that hasn't been, um it's a archetype that has been obsolete, because of
It hasn't been activated probably because they haven't realized it.
yeah, yeah, you know um but yeah. So when you talk about that, ocean type of energy in its most innocent state, that's what it is. The little girl that when I grow up, I want to be a queen, and I want to have a family and all of this stuff. And so Mama Chola, because I talk about this in the Paulo Miyambe video. Mama Chola, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, Mama Chola, Mommy Wata, these are the baby Oshun's aunties. you know
Like
Mommy.
And bow down.
Mami Wata, the goddess, the older goddess, because these are like older. So the older goddesses who represent Mami Wata, the older goddesses who represent Mama Chola. Mama Chola, that's Jill Scott. You know,
You also
that's
have
the
like Berzuli Danter, you have Mama Brigitte, you have Ayizan that also
mm-hmm.
more people.
and
They're
and
more.
and these and what I try to get people to understand, these are all people that's in your family that influence you. You know, so you understanding, and this is how you can read people. This is how I read people. Because once I understand who you are on the inside, on the inner level, who your inner child is, now I know what you would be the most susceptible to. I know, you being the baby Oshun, you being that type of energy, that curious energy. If I put you around Mama Chola, she's the one that's out there in the garden with the yams and the potatoes and the snap beans, and she the one that can cook a meal from scratch. You're gonna naturally gravitate towards that. So most baby Oshuns, they can throw down in the kitchen because they had an auntie that showed them how to throw down in the kitchen. You know,
Not in your generation.
what
I'm just
and
joking.
and what did Aaliyah say? Aaliyah said, "Your love is what? A one in a million." So the baby Oshun is a one in a million. You see why this information is so important, because you'll never find her unless you know about this type of stuff. Like you'll never find her in this climate that we're in. Um the
Can you, before you move on to that, can you preference about Aaliyah and connecting, showing some of the goddesses up in the air, what we spoke about with the Obanani energy of how the tomboy and the feminine aspect, how they get confused with the
and I
tomboy?
was I was about to break that down. I was about to break that down next. So this baby Oshun, because when we talk about Obanani, Oshun and Obanani, they can be synonymous with each other, just like how Eshu and Legba can be synonymized with each other. And the reason why I say that, and you Ani, you can definitely confirm this. But don't it
Mhm.
seem like don't it seem like every time the baby Oshun pops out, she get wiped up? Either A, you find out later she's already wiped up, or B, as soon as she pop out, she get wiped up.
Right, right, right.
Have you ever
Yeah, yeah,
seen that?
yeah.
You know,
I've seen it.
mm-hmm. Do you remember, the girl in school, she was kind of awkward. She was kind of socially awkward, but you can tell that she's a good person, like she's a good girl. She might be the type of girl she might have wore glasses, but then you never seen her with the glasses off, and when she take the glasses off, she a whole baddie.
Hmm.
So you didn't really pay her no attention in school, but then we're an adult now, we're adults now, you find out she's married, she got two kids, and she got a house and all. You're like, dang, like if I just would have wiped her up back then. you know that's that's who Obanani represents. That's also what Oshun represents when she's influenced at an early age by the Obanani energy. Because Obanani just means chief wife, you know?
Hmm.
That's all that means, being introduced to that energy. So if you're a little girl and your mom and dad had a energy like a king and a queen, and you was able to see that as a little girl, then you're gonna grow up wanting that. You're gonna grow up, wanting, and if you had a strong father that's a king, then you're not gonna expect nothing less from these guys out here, because you've seen all your life how it's supposed to work. How it's supposed to go. you know um so when you look at Aaliyah, the Virgo moon, she is a version of Eshua. Eshua, the female Eshu, she already got a bad name, Pambajira. you know
Yeah.
so this is already talking about someone who's going to be well above, they're going to be well beyond their age. You know, me, I'm well beyond my age. I'm a Virgo moon. I was always messing with older women, you know, and
Mhm.
the older women that I couldn't get with, it was because my parents stepped in. You know, it was the stuff that I could have got into. It was because I had strict parents. I'm a baby. You know, I'm a love child. You know, my mom and dad love me. I wasn't finna be out there, you know, in the streets, you know, doing, and that's the difference between me and Aaliyah. See, her parents were willing to sell her off, you know,
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
willing to sell her to the highest bidder. You know, my mom and dad, they wasn't, and we've had chances. There were chances where me and my mom, we entered singing competitions and stuff like that, and me and my mom won. And mom and we had a chance to go to Hollywood. You know, we won the it was like an American Idol audition in my 11th grade year. Man, I would be on TV right now. Like I would be a whole different guy. Like,
Right.
you
Right.
know, but my mom, because she's a Virgo moon too, my mom, she stopped that and she was like, hell no, you know? So that's the only thing that separated us, you know. And then her name, the most exalted one, the most high, the most exalted one, you know, the most exalted goddess that only God can judge. That's what her whole name means, Aaliyah Diana Halton, the most high goddess, the most high goddess that only God can judge. That's what Halton means. You know, haughty. That's talking about being promiscuous and stuff like that. You
Mhm.
know, and because the divinity that is hidden behind that is hidden within a freaking, and this is what I hate. It's hidden. It's hidden in a secret society, you know. So certain things when it comes to the divine feminine, unless you're into this type of knowledge that me and Ani are giving y'all, you know, this type of knowledge that Bobby Hemmett, you know, talks about the divine feminine, um, you're not gonna understand at what levels Aaliyah was taken advantage of. You know, like
Yeah.
it's way deeper than just music. It's way deeper than Jay-Z. It's way deeper than all of that. And it should have been a cry out for no more beings with souls to want to be in the industry.
Yeah. It should have been.
But we wasn't on that level consciously yet. You know, you had a few, you know, rappers, Illuminati, want my mind, soul, and my body, you know, but it was still, there was still mystery to it. It was still mysterious. Like it wasn't taken serious, you know. It wasn't taken serious. Um, until now, you know, and it's very interesting how um when you pay attention to the different things that's come up to where Aaliyah has been brought up, you know, it's all spiritual. You know, it was spiritual back in 2016, the 9 year. If you remember, 9 year, the last 9 year, 2016, they tried to come out with a Aaliyah perfume line that failed.
Mhm.
Remember that?
Yeah.
You know, and then they came out again with Drake. Drake had a song called Poison. You know, remember? He had a song called Poison and had this distorted Aaliyah verse on there, and they was like, nah, you know.
Yeah. I don't
Then
live break like that. So.
you know, but it's all spiritual. You
Yeah. I know
know,
what you mean.
Bobby Hemmett, he talked about this ritual that they do in Hollywood, so where they'll take a baby, they'll take someone who has a high solar energy like a Leo and place them in a bed around these old white men, around these old men, and they're sucking the energy, the life force.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's a ritual. I think it's called the Beth Hamabeth ritual. I forgot the name of it, but it's something Beth Beth ritual, and and that's what they do. And
Yeah.
so when you see that picture of Aaliyah, in the bed with Diddy and all of those other people in that bed, that's what that represented. You
Yeah,
know,
that goes way back. Like Bobby was introducing that to us, but older people on here, y'all know that goes way back in the day. My grandma knew about that, like way back in the early 1900s. It
hmm
wasn't even really parasitic. They would just, if a older person was weak, they'll put a young person in bed. Hoodoo practitioners, there was something about the life force around the aura of a young person. But yeah, they always flip these sciences and make it parasitic. Absolutely. And I can see what you mean though.
hmm
No, not the
yeah,
Hiram, y'all. That he's not talking about Hiram Abiff. No. But yes, it's interesting. They just turn her into a doll. This year
hmm
is another 9 year, and we, Vodal and Voodoo's
and you
connected.
know, and I was just about to say that, during the Super Bowl, you know what that represents in New Orleans. They brought out the Aaliyah goat. Aaliyah, she represents the goat because she was in She's a Capricorn, so she represents a sacrificial goat. Um, People don't look at her as a sacrificial goat because Virgo Moon, they didn't allow her to reach a certain potential to where she would have been known as a goat.
Yeah, they used Beyonce to fill that void when they sucked her out, and
hmm
yeah, the Beyonce was the filler of that space. Had Aaliyah never been sucked out and
Beyond,
continued.
it wasn't just her, Rihanna too. Because see,
Yeah,
as an
Rihanna.
artist,
Yeah,
as an artist, you could see Beyonce, but just as a person, when you look at the marketing, how they got Rihanna to where she's at, that would have been Aaliyah. You know,
that's what I'm saying.
she would have been that type of person where she would have created her own brand.
She would have been
Um,
bigger than both of them, bro. Is what I'm saying.
hmm
Would have been. She
Yep.
would have been half Rihanna, half. See, Beyonce's issue with the industry now is that Jay-Z doesn't even. If they're talking about her separating from Jay-Z after all of this stuff goes down, because in the industry, which we all know is a dark industry, Beyonce doesn't. Her brand doesn't really stand out like that. She doesn't
hmm
have Skims like Kim Kardashian. She doesn't have Fenty like Rihanna does. Not to say that it doesn't sell or make millions. It's just not as big as these other brands. And being Beyonce, you should have a bigger brand. So they're saying that
But
Jay-Z.
when you look at what being a Virgo means, because I always talk about this too, in the industry, um, they're heavy into astrology, they're heavy into the occult, and they will put you in a trap based on your astrology. So with even though we know, Beyonce most likely lied about her age, but let's just pretend that she's a Virgo. Virgos are only known for doing one thing right. Now they may dibble dabble into other things, but Virgos are known for doing one thing right. Like Michael Jackson, he did a lot of things, but the one thing, him being a performer, him being the king of pop, because Michael Jackson had video games that he had other things. He had Michael Jackson clothes. He probably had other endorsement, stuff that people that grew up in the '80s probably remember. But when you think about Michael Jackson, what is he mostly known for? That one thing, being a performer, being the king of pop. They only know you for one thing. When it comes to Rihanna, what does Pisces represent? Pisces represent the dream world. The Pisces represent the astral realm. It represent, dreamy, being dreamy, your eyes being hazy, the rose colored glasses. That's what Pisces represent. It represents, getting out of the matrix, Neptune, that Neptune energy. So when you look at the ending of Rihanna's career as an artist, she literally ended her career as a Pisces. Everything that she got is making you up, turning you into something that you're really not, just for the purposes of beauty and glamour. you know that's all Pisces. Beauty, glamour, that's all Pisces stuff. you know um when you look at how and even breaking it down even more, how a lot of people die in Hollywood. It has a lot to do. It has a lot to do with their a lot to do with their astrological makeup. You know, Whitney Houston being a Pisces, I think she had a Pisces ascendant or something like that, and then she died in the water. Um, she died in a tub or something like that. Like it's deep. Like you can it's really deep because it's all for show. It's all a show. You know, like I doubt that these people are really dead. It's a show. It's all a stage. It's a stage show.
I think
You know.
that's my side of my expertise. Most of them are dead. They're definitely dead because the sacrifice, taking someone out of the body, causes a ripple effect in the universe, and they try to extract the energy that's caused through the ripple effect to gain dominance as a cosmic predator. So someone has to be taken out of the natural flow state of the cosmic energies, and that's why they have to kill so many people. People don't know the kundalini of everyone peaks the moon actually in its cycle. We are literally food to the moon. That's why they talked about the moon children ritual, Aleister Crowley. Now, I'm not saying that you're supposed to do what Aleister Crowley is doing, but I'm saying that's what he was trying to infer after studying Western mysticism with Gurdjieff and why sacrifice was necessary. They call it the azokin, the energy of sacrifice. It causes a vortex. So every time they kill someone, they're creating a vortex symbolically and actually in the quantum realm. So higher degrees of these people that's initiated into the Black Lodge, these higher orders than Freemasonry. There's a lot of cryptocratic orders that we speak about on this channel. Yeah, some of them can switch our identity and fake death. That does happen. So, but it going back to way back then when the Amerindians, the reason why that civilization happened, what ended up happening to it, everything has to degrade at some point, of course. But they speak about the Wetiko virus. And the Wetiko virus was, you can get the book on the Wetiko virus, is basically a mind virus that took over those people. Is actually a archon invasion in their genetics. And they started the sacrifice temples. They started to build the temples or the mounds for sacrifice around the time of this week. Wetiko started to become a problem for them. So sacrifice has been quintessential, a part of the Hollywood industry, and it goes way back into other indigenous societies. Once the archons take their place and they set up their camps of rulership, of using certain puppets, then everyone else gets infected by the virus, and at some type of version of it, we start to reciprocate the same lower vibration of what's running the system. And unfortunately, these people in the matrix, they're running a lot of the matrix systems. But you, in your own spiritual space, you can create a bubble. How you practice your spirituality of the low vibrations that's occurring around the system, your spiritual activity creates a bubble, not only for protection, but it becomes your own vortex for a space and an opening for you to escape here and not to bring the lower vibration through your karma and your dharma once you transmute out of human existence, whether you choose to come back here, whether you choose to become a bodhisattva in the astral plane, an ancestor to watch over your lineage, or if you choose to go on and become something more than what the human race is. These things have all been spoken about in different spiritual texts. So we have to preference that. But as far as mental alchemy, what can the family do to begin to create that spiritual space, as far as looking at archetypes and you guys get your questions ready. We're about to get questions ready. This is going to be the last about 15 minutes. If you want, Mr. Band Clap, I can bring them up on stage, or we can.
Yeah. You can bring them up. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Um,
I'm
cause
post.
they're Yeah, cause now what you were saying, you was talking about mental alchemy.
Yeah.
It was something you were saying about the artist, because all of this goes into the agreements, the hidden agreements. You know, um, you 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 have a hidden agreement. We all had hidden agreements, um as far as why we decided to come here, what was our purpose, what was our path. It's a hidden agreement. It's a hidden agreement because it was something that wasn't exposed to us, you know.
Right.
um so when it comes to these artists and their true purpose of their whole existence, we're not taught that. We're not taught that these artists are nothing but puppets to to spread an agenda that is a hidden agenda, because they sign NDAs and like that, so we'll never truly know the agenda of what they're spreading. That's not how we're taught about these artists and stuff like that. We learned about that after we done already fell in love with them, wondering why they didn't switched on us and all kind of stuff. You know.
Right.
Um. Um. So with that being said, understanding that most of these artists, they don't write their own music. Most of the artists, they're vessels themselves for a spell. Every all the songs are spells, the music is a spell, all of this type of stuff. Now, the thing about it is, when you are as a god or as a goddess, when you know who you are, you're able to stand outside of the spell and look at everything as a tool to build your own reality, to build your own world, to build. And I talk about this in my videos too, about creating your own world, creating your own universe. That's what my animation is about. Creating a world. And the thing about it is, um, anything can be permitted in your world, in your bubble, in your world. You know. So if NBA YoungBoy, if NBA YoungBoy got some songs that can empower my world, um, it don't matter what type of energy that NBA YoungBoy was supposed to, what it was supposed to be. But when you use that mental alchemy and your world, anything can be used as a tool. Now we have
Yeah.
some people, we got some artists like Jackson. His music is universally like on a high vibration, like a universal high vibration. Bob Marley, he purposely recorded a lot of his music in 432 hertz, 432 hertz, which is a universal frequency. So you have some Bob Marley in your world, you have some Michael Jackson in your world, you have different things in your world, and this is where shadow work comes in, because a lot of the things in your world, to keep your world stable, it has to be different things that's going to remind you of your childhood. So maybe in your world, certain time of day you want to watch cartoon Fridays, because that is the day designated for you and your inner child to be able to interact with each other. And your child is what powers your world. Because if you lose your inner child, your whole world is going to crash down. Just like if you have a physical son and something happened where you got a little son and you found son got killed or something like that, your whole world gonna crash down, you know. But that's how important and that's how imperative, especially in the time we're in now. We talked about this off air. Everybody is feeling like that they've been lied to. Everybody's feeling like that they've been lied to right now. That's the world that we're in. The world that we just left, it was a world to where everybody is realizing that the game was rigged. That's the world that we just left. So we already know the game is rigged. any type of content talking about how the game is rigged is going to sound very redundant right now. You know what
So what if
what
they
people
had a rough child? Hold on. What if they had a rough childhood before you move on from that? What if they're trying to connect? Because I understand what you're saying. Today I watched Dragon Ball Daima. That's from my
hmm
childhood. You know, I use Friday and Saturday to watch at least one or two animes or something like I did in so I understand what you're saying. We call it umbra kinesis, shadow work. Um, what if someone had a bad childhood? If they don't really have a whole lot of good childhood memories, how can they still connect with that inner child?
So this goes back to something that my mom told me, because my mom, she's a Oya. She's a Ada Wado, Scorpio sun, Virgo moon, and she always tell me about how she had a bad childhood, growing up. But there were certain little things about her child she was able to kind of take those and use alchemy and turn it into something that she can use in her life now. So for example, my mom grew up poor. She didn't have money for dolls and stuff like that. So she would say what she used to do, she'll take like some socks, and she'll take some needle and some thread and some buttons, and she would create her own doll, you know. And she used to be so happy about that doll, and she would go to school. People would talk shit about her, talk about her like, oh, what's that, all that stuff. But she didn't care because that was her doll. She made that doll, you know. Certain little things like that, that gave me a life lesson. Like just me, just so sometimes um a lot of reasons why we feel like we've had bad childhoods was because certain things that was happening to us, certain traumatic things was happening to us at a early age that we just didn't understand. Like we didn't understand why we had to lose our father at an early age. We didn't understand why we was moving from place to place because was poor, or we didn't understand why we had to be in an adopted family. Our parents gave us up, so we was adopted. These are all things that I've heard before in the readings that I give to people. But then once we start really going deep into who they are, what God they represent, what Orisha they represent, and the things that particular Orisha had to go through in order for them to realize who they are, it's like things starts to line up. It starts to line up, and then that's a way to turn a lot of those things that happen to you when you grew up in childhood. Those things ends up being like life lessons. They end up being testimonies, like certain things that you went through in your adulthood. You wouldn't have been able to face it. You wouldn't have even been able to withstand it had you not been through certain things at an early age. See, this is what Oya teaches you. I haven't met a Oya, I haven't met a Oya yet who didn't have a real bad childhood. They didn't have a childhood where they got molested, or they got raped, or you know they got abandoned at an early age. They was in a I've heard some horrible stories from Oyas that I gave readings to. But when I tell you, these are some of the most powerful women, even my mother. You know, she protected me from so much stuff spiritually. Like she would have visions and don't go here, don't do this. I didn't listen every single time, but the times I did listen, it was stuff that she was protecting me from that was in the future that I ain't even realize. you know so that's how everything that's how everything is everything, and everything can happen for a reason. It's all about first, that shadow work is important. Learning who you are, learning who you represent, learning what you represent, learning what's your purpose, learning path, and then going back with that level of consciousness and going back to your childhood, seeing like, okay, so now I see why this had to happen. Now, not everything you're going to be able to understand, even with that, because this is a relationship that has to be built. This is a that you probably never been taught. You probably this probably be a lot of people first time hearing this information about getting to know your inner child. Stuff like that. you know and a lot of us are in that position right now. We are now 30s, we are now 40s, just now learning about this. But it's never too late. And you don't know, it might be some stuff that you done went through that's real bad. you know and it might be somebody out there that needs to hear about that, and that's going to be their shadow work for them to realize who they are. Like, damn, if he was able to come out of that, if he was able to come out of that, then who am I? Like, like you just don't know. And somebody said the hero's journey. Howard, that's very important. Because
Yeah,
in the hero's
when we started the channel, the first, well, I had an older channel, but this new channel, the first video we have is called Kinesis. The inner child, the shadow work, the hero's journey is all in that video when we connect to why what Janae is saying here, what we teach on Patreon, Camouflage Academy. You have to go back to the part of yourself that in the childhood memories that were bad, and you have to recreate that scenario. That's a part of the shadow work. You have to go hug that portion of yourself mentally in your own mental temple, and to actually cure that symptom, to bring that portion of the inner child into the light, to where the vibrational frequency of what you're radiating on at that point, it can walk into that light with you outside of the darkness of what happened back then. So I would also say that's a way, if someone doesn't have a lot of pleasant memories, to make sure you consider that as something that you can do as well in your meditation and your what you do spiritually throughout the day.
Because see, this is a big thing
Well,
too. This is a big thing too. When you're a child and you grew up in the ghetto, you don't know that you're living a hard life. When you're a little child and you're playing in the sprinklers and you outside with your broken big wheel, because your parents have probably found it outside somewhere, and you in the hood, you don't you it doesn't appear to you that you're living poor. You know, and you got to think about what processes do that child go through before they find out that they were living poor. And those are the things that you have to fight. Those are things that you got to fight, because those are the things that's up along with you, that's grown up along with you too. Those negative things that happened to you, that made you realize that you were poor, because you're not poor. You realize that you were broke, but you're not broke. That made you realize that you were adequate. So you see how even on a micro level, this shadow work is important, because that's where it starts. Because when you were a kid, you didn't realize that things were bad, where that you grew up in a negative way. You didn't realize it. Something or someone had to tell you that. And then there was some traumatic experiences that other people put you through, or that you went through, and that it etched in your mind about that. So then you got to think about, as an adult, what are some things that I won't allow myself to experience as an adult, because of those voices in my head that come when I was a kid, and I know that I was poor. I know I was, and then I went through this, and now everything that's this right here representing my childhood. Subconsciously, I'm looking at this as being broke, so I don't want to associate with that. I'm looking at this as being poor. I don't want to associate with that, because of what somebody else told me about what that is. But spiritually, I'm being led back to this, because this is where the divinity was at. You see what I'm saying?
yeah, absolutely.
So
And go ahead.
so when I had my shadow work class, which is coming back, but that's what I talked about, because a lot of people don't realize, me, Virgo moon, I like to talk about the little things that ends up becoming the big thing. A lot of times we have little subconscious things, little small subconscious things that you might have went through as a kid, and you didn't realize that this little thing is the reason why in your 25 year, or in your 28, 29 years as a woman, you have been able to have a meaningful relationship yet, and you don't realize that it's because of something small that happened when you was a little girl. Maybe a little boy took something that belonged to you, took your pencil or something. The teacher sided with him. That made you so that little thing right there, it snowballed and snowballed because you started getting attracting more and more like that, to where whatever you was thinking in your mind as a result, man, these niggas ain't shit, or fuck that man, fuck that guy, or whatever, you know, it started to evolve into niggas ain't shit. And then there's a movement, there's a social movement that's attractive, feminism. There's a social movement that the government created that's attractive, and it seemed like there's a whole lot of other girls that went through that in school. And now you can synonymize with them. So now you're a feminist. Now you're this, now you're that. And so now you're in this moment right here, and you're like, dang, how did how did I get like this? How did I get so tainted like this? You know? And the shadow work will be you going back to that little girl that had that pencil taken from her, by that boy, you
Right.
know, and healing that little girl. And then that snowball, that's going to be a snowball effect, going back to the different things in your life that represented that. So yeah, it is a tedious process. And because we've been so effed up as a people, it's a long process for us, because we gotta go back to we gotta go back to our great 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 grandparents. And we gotta go all the way back, because you find out your parents didn't have it all together. So you can't really blame your parents for the things that they didn't teach you. And then you gotta go back. Your grandparents didn't, probably didn't even know anything about school or schoolhouse. Like, what's that? We was in the fields picking cotton. We didn't know nothing about no schoolhouse. What's that?
Well,
We
that's
we we
why
we got killed.
it's important. It's important for you to establish a new system and change the tides of the waves from the past. The waveforms can change, and it's important for you at this portion of the totem pole. There's an anode and a cathode. At this other side, you change the way of the flow state by establishing how you use your system and spirituality. For instance, I've got my hair up like this. My mom told me the other day, because I started wearing it like this, you look like a little pineapple or something like that. And I was laughing
Hmm.
at it, but the reason why I did it like this is so I can get more electromagnetism in my spiritual work. I wanted to attract more energy down. So applying something like that, doing something different, like what Aaron said earlier, embrace your weirdness. The weirdness is a
Hmm.
part of the spiritual faction. All of this is a portion of it. And this is how we create that bubble that I spoke about earlier. And all of it is going to work out in what you do in your spiritual work, your shadow work. All of these things play a big aspect in absolutely embracing the inner child archetype as the power system for the whole system. But can you tell the people where they can find you, how they can get in contact with you, what other pages that you have, so they can look you up and see where you at with it?
Oh, definitely, man. My main channel is Mr. Bandclap. That's my main channel. Um, I do have another YouTube channel called Bandclap TV, but the best way that you can get to that channel, because for some reason you can't just type that in on YouTube, go to my website, www.bandclaptv.com. If you like the way that I talk about astrology, the way I talk about the Orishas, I give readings in regarding of that. I give card readings. I have a natal chart reading that I give called the Everything is Everything reading, where I take, you know, everything that that I would do to break down a celebrity, and in that particular reading, you're the celebrity, and I'm breaking you down. So I give you various things. Tell you, who you are as far as what energy that's most prevalent with you, what energy, what God you represent, what Orisha that you most likely synonymize with, and I give you a roadmap. I give you a roadmap so not only you can understand why you had to go through what you went through in the past, but to prepare you for what else you're going to go through in your path in the future. So that's one of my best sellers. If you go to my website and go to the services tab, you can see that.
Thank you so much,
Um,
brother. And y'all heard.
mhm.
My bad, you went out, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was saying that when you first go on the page, you'll see my animated series. It's called Eshu's World. Right now, I'm accepting donations so I can make this better. Everything that you've seen is out of my pocket. I got certain soul family members that are my voice actors and stuff like that. But it's still a very intimate project. Animation is extremely expensive. um, you got different cartoons that's out now talking about the Orisha, but it's still, I wanted to create something that was more Afrocentric, something that talks about different Orisha that you don't hear about, like Ayao, the goddess of the wild winds, Oya sister, Ayao, Aja, the goddess of wealth, the goddess of nature, and she's a part of Oshun's court. There's other orishas that I talk about that isn't necessarily widely talked about. So if y'all are feeling that y'all would like to donate to me so I can make this the cartoon the cartoon um you know well is my donation link on there as well?
Yeah, I have everything that you put on there. You just click, y'all can click the tab. Yeah, everything's there. Donation, Cash App, your email,
Okay.
Venmo, everything. And by the way, yeah, I saw somebody mention we did break down Castlevania guys, Nocturne. We broke
Mm-hmm.
down we're going into Castle Rock. That's homework. Yeah, because they did talk about Papa Legba. So I thought it was very interesting around the time that he came in that, all of these energies are connecting, to the indigenous spiritual system. So we're going back into hoodoo with another lesson on Patreon. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, it's patreon.com/THE, the spiritual shade room. What will pop up is the True Occult newspaper. And then you'll see all the classes that we have. And we'll be back on either tomorrow or Monday to finish up the first portion of the hoodoo and indigenous spiritual system classes and breaking down Castle Rock and Severance. And there was another TV. It's very important, as Bobby used to say, Mr. Banclap, to watch these TV series and movies out because there's a lot of spiritual lessons in them, esoteric lessons, and the holographic strip of the world or in the
Mm-hmm.
TV series. So that's what we do. We break all of that down. We go deep into it, every portion of it, and convey it. And we have a collective, a family. We're building that sharing information as well, and they're doing a wonderful job with what they contribute. But make sure you guys go to Mr. with a period band clap on YouTube. Go over there right
Mm-hmm.
now and subscribe to Mr. Bandclap. Uh, everyone just go subscribe and check out his videos and
It's
support
funny.
because I'm gonna start doing. Mhm.
It's funny you said something about like watching old cartoons. I was just watching this Dragon Ball Z show on the Internet Archive. That's one of our sites that we really need to pay attention to because the Internet Archive, it's a preservation. it's a preservation tool. There's a Hindu god that represents preservation. I forgot if it was I don't think it was Krishna, but preservation. This website, you got the Wayback Machine. So certain websites that's not here anymore, you can, go on, click, put it on that particular website. It'll pop up. Certain people have started to, um, digitize their VHS recordings. So somebody took like a whole, like all the Dragon Ball Z movies and put them on one spot on this particular thing. When I tell you these companies have been trying to take that site down because it's the last site where you can watch like free cartoons and stuff like that, and it's legal. But there was this,
Oh,
I
wow.
think it was the movie right before Broly, a Bio Broly. Um,
Yeah.
I think it was the Lord Slug. I think it was the Lord Slug movie, Dragon Ball movie, and it's funny because his name is the Lord Slug. In that
Mm.
movie, in that movie, when they came down to Earth, he put some type of drone in the air, and it calls for this big black smoke. It calls for this thick black smoke to cover that side of the Earth, and
Mm.
and that thick black smoke it covered like a whole side of the Earth, and it calls for the atmosphere to change. So it blocked the sun. It blocked a lot of the sunlight. And so, once it blocked the sunlight and it changed the atmosphere, there was these little green creatures that was in this ship, and they came out, and he was like, "It's safe to breathe now, y'all. We changed the atmosphere. So now it's safe for our people to breathe. It's safe for our people to breathe." And it was so interesting, the stuff that we're going through with the fog, with the fog and different things to where it's changing the atmosphere. So certain things that probably wouldn't have been able to survive in places like Florida, in places like Texas, because it's a warmer climate, these things may be able to survive now. So we may be having different people, places, things, and animals migrating over here because of the weather change, because of certain things have changed, you know. So that was just something that I was that when you talked about that, I brought it came in my mind, and I had to touch on that.
Yeah, make sure you guys are peeping these TV series. And I remember that. I remember that movie. Just make sure you're peeping
Hmm.
these TV series. Castle Rock right now is one of the focal points. Parallel dimensions, as I always talk about the multiverse. Going and meeting the other versions of yourselves, interacting with that. But yeah, we're gonna get up out of here. Make sure you guys subscribe to Mr. Ben Clapp. I will be bringing the Goddess Empress here in Columbia, South Carolina, early February. That'll probably be our next interview if I don't do another YouTube video by then. That'll be our next one, or I'll be coming with a super load of what happened, with everything with the inauguration and advancing forward. So I appreciate you, God. We got to do this again. Maybe next time I'll come on your channel, or vice versa.
Yeah,
We can
yeah. I
do
wanna I
something.
wanna bring you I wanna bring you on so we can talk about the language of your inner child. I want to talk about that with you because you've been studying the Vedic, the Vedic, the sidereal, um, and all of that is dealing with the moon. And I always talk about on my videos how your moon sign is your greatest roadmap to your inner child. You know, so
Mm,
you so depending on what moon sign that you have, that talks about the feelings, the attitude of your inner child. And whenever you're in those feelings that represent your moon sign, that is your inner child trying to communicate with you. You know,
mm,
so with me
yeah.
being a Virgo moon, and Virgo moon representing innocence, the virgin, the innocence. Anything that like old stuff that I used to watch as a kid, or seeing the Jackson 5, or like seeing like different stuff that represent that energy, I get a burst of energy, like inside, like a burst of energy, like, ooh, what's that? What's that? It lets me know that my inner child is online, you know. Like so many people, because they're not connected to themselves in that type of way, they're
Right.
they're they are um unintentionally but intentionally putting themselves in these environments and in these situations that constantly hurt them because they're not listening to their feelings. They're not listening to that inner voice that keeps telling them, I don't like being here. Like I don't like being here. I don't like being here. It's a difference when you have a child and you and your little child is in the store, and all of a sudden a person, is speaking to you, and all of a sudden your child busts out and start crying, you know, and they tell you that, your child, children can read energy. So that child knows if that person got bad energy, it'll start crying. You know, on an inner level, you never lost that. You never lost that. It's just that we live in a world to where, it's hard for you to really be that parent for your inner child because of certain things that you have to do in this world. What's it called? Discipline, doing what you don't want to do, but is necessary. What's that called? Is it called discipline?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a part of discipline. I mean, you have
Yeah.
to listen. Yeah, you have to listening to authority is discipline.
Yeah, so being in this
Exactly.
world to
Yeah.
where you got to do, and this is what it means to be a man. This is what they say is it means to be a man is doing a lot of stuff that you don't want to do, but it's necessary. You feel like it's necessary. You living a life, and that's all you've done. That alone is going to be a fast track to regret. You know, a fast track to regret and a fast track to resentment. You living your life doing stuff that you feel like is necessary, but it's not stuff that you wanted to do, your soul wanted to do. And that's why this reincarnation trap is so good because
Absolutely.
the life that we're in, it's attractive. They make a lot of stuff attractive that's not meant for you. That's not meant for you to consume. But you don't know. You don't know what you're not supposed to consume. You don't know what you're not supposed to indulge in because you don't know who you are. So that's why this is the most mental alchemy is the most important thing, because um you know your inner world depends on it. Your inner world that you're supposed to be creating outside of this matrix, it depends on it. you know and that's why you see people now in this position that they're in where they're, s word, they're in this low vibration because their world is in the matrix. They don't understand that they can build a world outside of the matrix. um you know they are human batteries pretty much, and they don't
Yeah,
understand that
that's
you know
unfortunate. That's unfortunate. But we ain't on that vibe. We need to
hmm
talk to those who's going to make. Only speak to those who's making the change. Those people are NPCs. Maybe they will or will not, come into the light. But unfortunately, there's going to be a lot more of them. But that's just what it is. So yeah, you guys go over to Mr. Van Clap on his YouTube, subscribe right now, and we're going to do this again. And I appreciate you for coming out, brother. And shout out to everyone who joined with us today. We will be back in a few weeks, or maybe a week or two. So with that, I'll say Arimpoya, Aoshulu, Ashe to the ancestors.